Hi guys.
Hi, sorry.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming to this webinar. Today we would like to introduce about the web advertisement approach in high context culture and low context culture. And we're gonna be comparing Starbucks in Korea and Canada as an example. And later I'm gonna explain about the exceptional example as well. Okay, so first we will talk about the high context culture in Korea. So as you know, high context culture, communication is indirect, implicit, and not nuanced. And nonverbal messages such as tone of voice, eye contacts, gestures, and facial expressions carry a great deal of meaning in their context. And the true intent of the message is not usually directly indicated, but rather left to individual interpretations. So individuals who value high context communication find low context communication a little bit extremely detailed and distressful and sometimes waste of time to do the repetition of the same message again and again. So now I'm going to talk about the actual example in this case, Starbucks. So this is the website in Starbucks Korea. And as you can see, there are very, very less message and all of them are based on the message or image or color. And when producing advertisement or media for high context culture, it is important to pay attention not only to your contents, but also your message of color, usage of color, images, and blank spaces. And in this example, you can see that they use green color and red color for the Christmas theme. But you can notice that on the green color, they use the gold color in this here to some luxurious image for their brand because in Korea, Starbucks is ranks in the luxurious brand, not the affordable coffee store. So to show the luxurious image to the customer, they put the color. They use the color which has those meanings. Okay, so now I like you to take a guess about what kind of message they are trying to deliver from this website. So based on the color, the usage of image or text, could you take a guess a little bit?
Um, I'm not sure.
Okay,
Sorry.
yeah, it's okay. So let me go over the answers. For this one, a lot of messages are delivered through images. So like you can see there are so many blank spaces. And like as I said before, like the usage of color is also unique. And image are more sophisticated and spaces symbolizes luxurious image or slow time in East Asian culture. So when a customer go to Starbucks, they're looking for slow, relaxed time in Korea. That's why to have this space, they deliver those image to the customer. And also since we have a Christmas season, they use the Christmas color, but also expensive and warm image by the pink color and green color. Okay, so now I'm gonna explain about the low context culture. Low context culture, the communication is concise, straightforward, and explicit, and simple and clear. So it requires attention to the literal meanings of the word than the context surrounding them. So everything is verbalized and nothing is left to your interpretation. And individuals who value low context culture communication find high context communication as a lazy, undisciplined, secretive or lacking transparency or unable to communicate effectively because everything is up to your interpretation. So nothing is specifically verbalized. So this is the example for a Starbucks website in low context culture, which is Canada. And when approaching to low context culture, it is important to make sure you qualify messages you want to deliver. So you should not assume your audience will understand your intention. So in East Asian culture, which is like high context culture, we tend to assume that your audience can understand what you want to say. So sometimes you don't verbalize every single thing, but in low context culture, it is important to verbalize every single details. Otherwise, people cannot guess what you're thinking. So you have to say everything you want to tell them. So I'd like you to take a guess about what kind of image they are trying to tell from this image. Um, yeah, so take a guess. So unlike Korean case, right now they are using a little bit brighter color, and you can see there are more text. So what do you think they are trying to tell? Like what kind of brand position or what kind of brand image? So are they trying to target to a luxurious customer, or are they trying to select to a more larger population of people, like a more
I
affordable?
think, yeah, to a larger population, like more like being, they're like trying to be more like friendly,
Yeah, more approachable.
approachable. Yes.
Yeah, that's correct. Thank you so much. So exactly what you said. This is the Starbucks in Canada, and it has a lot of text and eye-catching vivid color. Like this color is more vivid than previous one because for this one, they are trying to show their approachableness rather than their luxuriousness. So they use vivid color to attract customers, and also their image are more popping and casual, and they are less space so that customer can focus on their advertisement rather than their spaces. And image are fun and they have the holiday vibe, and they are less space, as I say. And colors are Christmas color and eye-catching vivid color. So this is the case of the low context culture. And now there is an exception. Now there is an exceptional case in Japan. Before doing the webinar, when I was researching, I assumed that Japan will be a high context culture, but in reality, Japanese web advertisement approach style is very low context and they use so many texts. So I like to introduce why is it so. So when designing web page or advertisement, understanding whether a targeting culture is low context or high context is very effective approach to audiences. However, there are other cultures factor which could affect consumer behaviors. And the most interesting case is Japan. Although Japan is known as a high context culture, Japanese web designing or advertising approaches are highly low context, as you can see in this right screen. And this is the Starbucks website in Japan. As you can see, it is taking a high context culture. It is high context culture, yet it takes the low context culture approach. And their styles are highly low context, and every little details are mentioned in text. And you can see they use less images and less colors. So take a look at the Japanese YouTuber called Konmari, and she's very popular in Japan and also some of the English-speaking country like United States. And she has two YouTube channels for Japanese audiences and global audiences who can speak English. And as you can see, it is obvious that she used very different approaching style depending on her audiences. Yeah, so you can see the Japanese audiences prefer much more high context designing comparing to the global audiences. So can you guess why this could happen for this YouTuber? So why do you think Japanese consumers prefer low context approach rather than high context approach, even though culturally we are high context?
That's an interesting question. I think we're affected more by text than images.
Yes. That's correct.
Yeah.
So the reason behind such phenomenon is because of Japanese culture and Japanese demographic and historical background. So although there has been more people from overseas because of globalization these days, there are still majority of people in Japan are still, most of them are Japanese born. So most of them can speak and read Japanese letters. So as you said, in Japanese letter, we can symbolize multiple meaning in one letter. So that's why we can use those Japanese letter, which is called kanji, as like some sort of image. Like in the Western culture, they cannot symbolize multiple meaning in the alphabet letter. That's why if they want to deliver some message, they have to use image so that they can deliver multiple messages through one small image. But in Japanese case, they can use Mandarin letter, like one Mandarin letter to deliver 3 or 4 messages at the same time. That's why it's more efficient to use letters, much more letters in Japanese culture. And also, sorry, give me one moment. Also, Japan has been maintaining low context advertising approach for decades. Like we have been taking this low context approach for more like about like 30 or 40 years so far. And Japan has a very high uncertainty avoidance touristy. Sorry, very high uncertainty avoidance tourist. Sorry, let me say it again. Very high uncertainty avoidance. So this is like this is from the sixth cultural dimension from the host stage, and this shows how likely the country is avoiding risk when they are making change. And since Japan has a long history, people tend to avoid making new change so that they can avoid risks from the new change. That's why we still maintain our traditional style even after decades. And as a result, in general, Japanese web design tend to prefer this very low context designing. So this is the reason why these designs are so different. And now I hope it makes sense, because when I was doing research, I had no idea why this happened, and I was very surprised. But I think it's very interesting, and also it's very important to keep in mind that like not only high context or low context, but sometimes those cultural dimension could affect consumer behaviors in the marketing. Okay, so this is all about my presentation. And do you have any questions for the contents?
When you live in Canada as a Japanese person, and like in town or when you go shopping or whatever, do you find any like advertisements interesting, or is there anything like significantly different from Japan?
Yeah, what I noticed in here is actually it's positive thing, but there are so many advertisement which has diversity in their image. So like in Japan, when you see advertisement, most of the people in the pictures are only East Asian people. But in Canada, since there are so many immigrants from many countries, they are trying to make sure they have diversity in their image. So they try to put at least like one East Asian, one white, one brown, one black guy. So like so that like when people see those advertisements, everyone can relate to those advertisements because they can find themselves in those pictures. And I think that's very important and that's very nice. So that's the biggest difference I noticed in Canada.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's it for this presentation. Thank you so much for your attention, and I hope it helped a little. I hope it was interesting for you. Okay, thank you.